Hi friends, thank you so much for clicking this video. My name is Susan. In today's tutorial, we're creating the overlap monostrap bustier that you're looking at on the screen. I have my basic dress block here. This is the front and I also have the back. The back is on fold, okay? If you don't know how to draft your basic dress, I'll leave some link down in this description box below that can assist you. So starting from the front, I'm going to open it up this way. And here on this part of the front, I have my bust circle. To get the bust circle, you use the bust radius. The bust radius is from the bust point to the under bust. That's the bust radius. So whatever you have, you mark it around to get your bust circle. So I have it here, my bust circle. I'm starting from the bustier part of the dress. I'm going to use my red marker so that you can see the difference, okay? So now on the leg, this that leg now, I'm going to come out. I'm going to mark up. It depends on how high or low you want your bustier part to be. But here I'm going to come up by 1 cm. You can use half, you can use 1 inch. Just be creative about it. Then on the other leg also, I'm also going to come up from the bust circle by 1 cm, okay? Then from the 1 cm now, I'm going to take another 1 cm out towards the armhole. This is 1 cm, all right? Then I'm going to take the measurement on the dart leg from the bust point here to this dart leg, the 1 cm that will mark above the bust radius. Whatever I have, let me measure it. Okay, I have 5 cm. Now from this bust radius, I'm going to mark 5 cm now, touching the 1 cm that I mark out. I hope you're getting it. All right, so now from here, I'm going to connect here. That is from the 1 cm out, I'm going to connect it to the bust point like this. Making sure that it's exactly 5 cm that I have here. All right, so now moving to the other dart leg, I'm going to come towards the center front by 1 cm. I'm going to mark 1 cm out from the 1 cm above the bust radius. So this is 1 cm. The measurement I have there, the 5 cm. So I'll make sure I have 5 cm from the bust point touching the new 1 cm that I mark out. Right, 5 cm. Then I'm going to connect it from here to the bust point. What I want to do now is to connect this new red line, this new dart, to connect in a curve to touch the armhole. If you have excess ease on your dress block, this is the time for you to reduce it, but I'm going to leave mine this way. So I'll just connect in a curve from the new dart to touch the armhole using the curvy part of my ruler. So this other part, I'm going to connect to the center front, okay? So from this center front, I'm going to come up by 1 cm. It depends on how deep you want your bustier to be. You can actually leave it without coming up. I'm coming up by 1 cm, you can use half an inch. Then I'm going to connect in a curve. We are done with the upper part of the bustier. So now moving to the under bust, I'm going to mark quarter of an inch away from the waist dart. You can actually use half an inch because this is half scale. I'm using quarter. I'm marking it out from each side of the dart leg, the waist dart, okay? So quarter like this. Then I'm going to connect in a curve towards the apex of the waist dart here. Connect, and I'll round it to join the bust point. Okay, just watch. Alright, so we're done with this bust area. Now I want to create a line at the center here. It will serve as a guide from here to the waist. Then I'm going to label center front. Alright, so now we move to the one that overlaps, which is the one with the shoulder. The first thing I'm going to do is to widen the neck area. I'm going to widen it by half an inch. You can use 1 inch. Just, it depends on you, just be creative. So I'm marking half an inch. Alright, and this is where they meet here. So the first thing, I'm going to connect a line to join here first, alright, before creating the overlap. So I'm going to use my ruler from the neck area, connect. I'll use this part of the ruler, connect. Alright, okay, then I'm going to connect now from here to join here where that leg is at in a slight curve, that slight curve area of my ruler. Also note that I'm using my black marker now to differentiate it from the bustier part. Alright, the next thing now is to create the slash and spread line. Looking at the picture, we have 3 pleats. Okay, so here I'm going to create 2 pleats, then here 1 pleat. So I'm going to divide this space to give me 2 dots. So from the measurement, I'm going to take 1 each and a point, put a dot there. Then here also 1 each and a point, put a dot here. All right, now I'm going to square this small dot towards the skirt because the star line is going to be on the skirt also, just like this. Then here also just create your space, be creative about it. So I'm going to put a dot here, then I'll square a small line touching the skirt area of the dress. The next thing I want to do now is to separate the upper part from the skirt area. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to set the skirt aside, put it aside, then we start our working from this upper part. Before I draw the style lines on the overlap, I have to close this shoulder dart. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer this shoulder dart to this line here at the side. I'm going to slash it open towards a bust point, then I'm going to close this and mask it down. Alright, so it's time to create the style line. This first point, I'll connect it to the shoulder. I'm going to draw a diagonal line connecting it to the shoulder, like so. Alright, then the second point, I'm going to connect it to the new dart apex here, connecting here. Alright, so the third point, I'm going to connect it anywhere to the side. I can draw a straight line or I can curve it. Just be creative. I'm going to use the straight part. Just draw a line like so. The next thing now is to place another pattern paper, then trace out the bustier part, which is the red line. I'm going to place a new pattern paper underneath, then trace it out. But before then, I almost forgot to extend this line, the underbust tightening. I need to extend the line to touch the dart at the waist. So that's what I'm going to do now. Connect it to the waist, to the dart on the waistline. Okay, so the next thing now to place my pattern paper underneath, then trace the bustier part out. Here I have my pattern paper, fresh one, so I'm placing this on it, and I'm going to use my tracing wheel to create markings. I'm going to trace out the red line. I'm also going to trace here so that I'll be able to match it up when I'm joining it together. This is a bust point. Alright, so now I'm going to use the pencil to trace the bottom and the side. Now I'm going to use my marker to trace all the markings out. Alright, so the next thing now is to cut it out. Don't forget to label. This is the center front and it's going to be placed on fold. So I'm going to put my rectangle sign, okay? And this is the side front. I'm going to cut these 2 pieces times 2. Moving back to this upper part of the dress, we're done with the bustier. So I'm going to cut here now so that we can focus on the overlap part. Alright, so now I'm going to slash the first line. I'm going to slash it very close to the edge, but I will not cut it off. Then this second line, I'm going to cut it very close to the bust dart. Then I'll close the bust dart. I'm going to close this waist dart so I can expand the pleat. I'm going to cut this third line very close to the edge. The next thing now is to place another pattern paper underneath, then spread it out. Here I have it placed on another fresh pattern paper. This center line is already spread out, so it's the other two that I want to spread. I'm going to measure it so that the spacing will be even. Okay, I have like a 0.22, so I'm going to spread the other two lines by a 0.22, then I'll mask it down. Looking at the picture, the pleat is folded towards the right side of the bodice this way. But before that, I'm going to trace the shape out first. To cut the bottom, I'm going to fold the spreading. I'll fold it towards this way, then I'll cut it. Alright, so I have it. I'm going to label the side front so I'll be able to place it in the right direction on my fabric. Now moving to the skirt part, the right side overlap the left hand side, looking at the picture. Okay, alright, so it's like this. Okay, so the first thing now I'm going to decide the slit opening. You can use any measurement of your choice. You can use 4.5, 5, it depends on how open you want the front slit to be. But in this case, I'm going to mark 4 inches. 4 is fine. Okay, now I'm going to take my pattern master. I'm going to draw slide curve from here, touching the 4 inches here. And you can use your free hand to do it. Okay, then from here I'm going to connect to the side like so. We're starting our working from this part of the skirt, the overlap part of the skirt. Remember the markings that we extended from the top down, these 3 markings. Okay, so we're going to draw lines now that we want to use for our slash and spread. So this first line, I'm going to draw a line touching the side front, like so. Alright, then the second point, I'll make sure it's touching the dart so I can manipulate the dart. Then I'll draw it to the side front also, like so. Then the third one, I'll just connect it to the side. Now we want to create the part of the skirt that is inside. Okay, looking at that picture, I don't know if you can see it well. So from the 4 inches here, the opening, I'm going to connect the curve to the side using my pattern master to the side like so. Okay, now here also I'm going to connect it to the side. I'm still using my pattern master. So I'm using the red marker now so I can see it, so I can trace it out. I will not be confused when I'm tracing it out. I should have used the red here, so I'll redraw it with my red marker. I have it, this is the one inside and this is the one that is overlapping. I'm going to trace this out on a fresh pattern paper. Here I have my tracing wheel to trace this part of the skirt out. So I'll just trace it like so. I'm also going to trace the dart out because we need it for this part of the skirt. I'm going to use pencil to trace the side and the waist area out. Alright, so the next thing now is to use my marker to trace out the markings. If you are using a stretchy fabric, you don't need that, but because I'm not using a stretchy fabric, so I have to retain my darts. I'm going to label then cut out. For proper labeling, I'm going to write left here because this is the one that will be on the left hand side. Alright, so moving back to the main block, I'm going to cut this one out. This is the right side that is going to overlap. I'm going to cut the first line. Cut the second line. I'm going to close this dart. I'm going to cut the last line, which is the third line. Alright, so I'm going to place this on another pattern paper, then spread it the same way I spread the upper part that is overlapping. I use a point to 2 inches, so that's the same measurement I'm going to use now to spread it out. I'm going to secure everything with my masking tape. I'm done securing, it's time to cut out. To cut the waistline, I'm going to fold the spreading towards the side of the front, just the same way we did the upper part. All right, so I have it. I'm going to label this side so that I will not misplace it on my fabric, side front. I'm also going to label right because this is the right side, okay? So I have the left and the right side ready for the skirt part. Here I have all my front pattern ready to be placed on fabric. So I have my back here. I'm going to retain the dart because I'm not using a stretchy fabric. Now I want to shape the neckline. To do that, the bustier that I have, we shape it to the armhole. So I'm going to do the same to one side of this back pattern because it's a mono strap, just like this. Okay, I'm just going to shape it this way. Then the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to widen the neckline just the same way I did to the front. I'm going to widen it by half an inch. Then from there, I'm going to connect it to the armhole. The next thing now is to cut the neckline. Here I have it all cut out on fabric. So I have the bustier part here. This one is cut on fold. This is a center front. I cut it on fold. I cut both lining and main fabric. I don't have a matching fabric. Okay, so I added half an inch all around it. Then this is a side front for the bustier. This is a side front. I added 1 inch here. Then the rest I added half an inch all around. Then I cut two pieces each, the main fabric and the lining too. All right, so here I have the one that is overlapping. I cut one piece each on the main fabric and the lining, one piece. All right, so I added 1 inch here. This is a side front. Here I added half, half, half. Moving to the skirt part, this is the one that overlaps. This is one that goes inside. Right, so I cut one piece each on main fabric and on the lining. I added 1 inch here as seam allowance, then half 1 inch here. This is another side seam, then half here. Then the one that overlaps, I added 1 inch to the side seam, okay, then half all round, and it's also cut one piece each on the main fabric and on the lining. And here is the back. I cut one piece each on main fabric and on the lining. I added 1 inch here as side seam allowance, 1 inch here also. Then the hem I added 1.5, then here half and here half. Then I also reduced the lining by 2 inches on the length side. We're going to start the stitching from the upper part. Before removing the pattern, I'm going to notch these spaces. That's the spread part. Because of the fabric I'm using, I'm going to iron interfacing on the main fabric so it will define the pleat very well. Alright, so here, this is the bustier part. I'm also going to iron interfacing on the main fabric. But I need to notch the bust point area so I'll be able to match it up when I'm stitching it. Alright, so I end up ironing interfacing on both the main fabric and the lining. So I'm going to start with the bustier part first. I'm going to place it on each other like this, and sew on half an inch. Then take the other side also. I'll sew on half an inch. Then I'll do the same to the lining. Okay. Then moving to the overlap part, I'm going to fold the pleats, then stitch it down on both the main fabric and the lining. I'm done stitching. Here it is, the pleats on the main fabric and also on the lining. Okay, so the bustier part now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to place it on each other like this, right side facing right side. Then I'm going to stitch on half an inch at the top, half an inch like so. This also, I'm going to place right side facing right side and stitch on half an inch here. I'm done stitching. I went ahead and under stitch. Okay, so here it is. I can actually reduce the seam allowance so it will not be bulky. Then turning it this way, right side facing right side, I'm going to stitch this side by 1/4 of an inch just to have neat finishing. I'll do it here also. Then here also I under stitch, then I can trim so it will not be bulky. So now I'm going to face it right side facing right side like this. Then I'm going to stitch on 1/4 of an inch. I'm done stitching the side. I'm going to turn it inside out. Then I'll take it to my ironing table and give it a good press. I'm going to turn this also inside out. I'm going to give it a good press, then stitch together lining and main fabric, then stitch this one also. Then I'm going to place it together like this, the overlap and the bustier. Then I'll stitch it at the bottom to hold the two together. I'm done stitching down. All right, then I tack it here just to hold it together. Then I'll still stitch it here at this side to hold it together. To the skirt part, I also went ahead and iron interfacing on the main fabric and also the lining. Is optional anyway. All right, it's just to define the pleat. So what I'm going to do now is to fold it. I'm going to fold the pleat because I've already notched the areas I'm going to pleat. All right, so the same way I did to the upper part, I'll fold it separately. The main fabric separate, then the lining separate, and I'll stitch it on the waist area. Then moving to this side, the left hand side of the skirt part, I'm going to hold the dart on both the main fabric and the lining. I also went ahead and iron interfacing on the main fabric. Then this is the back. There's nothing much here. I didn't iron any interfacing here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stitch the necessary darts, then I'll be back. I have them stitched down. This is the back. I stitched the necessary darts on the lining and the main fabric. All right, so I'll set this aside. Then I have this skirt part. This is the one on the left hand side and this is the one that is overlapping on the right hand side. So this one, I'm going to place it right side facing right side. Place it on top of each other like this. Then I'm going to stitch here on half an inch, stitch, then snip it, then under stitch. All right, then to the side, I'm going to stitch on quarter of an inch. Then moving to the left part, the left side of the skirt, I'm going to place right side facing right side also like this. Then I'm going to stitch on half an inch here, snip, then under stitch, then the side also I'm going to stitch on quarter of an inch. I'm done stitching. I stitch half an inch here, then the side quarter of an inch. I'm going to turn it inside out. I'm going to take it to the ironing table, then give it a good press. I'll push all the lining inward to the back, okay? Then this one also, I stitch half an inch here, snip and under stitch. Then this is the side I stitch on quarter. I left this other side open. This other side, I left it open. All right, so I'm going to take it to the ironing table and give it a good press. After ironing this overlap side, I'm going to stitch it together on the waist side, the main fabric and the lining. I'll just stitch it together to hold it in place. Alright, so I'm done stitching together. Now I'm going to place this top part. Please pay attention. I'm going to place it right side on right side like so. Alright, and now make sure this place is aligned. Place it together like this. And I'll take the left side of the skirt also. This is the right side. I'm going to place it like this. Then I'm going to move the lining from under, turn it over like this. Right, then I'm going to stitch on the waistline half an inch like this. I'm done stitching on the waistline. I'm going to bring it out. Let's see, looking nice, looking really nice. Then we need to stitch this side of the front also. So I'm going to pull it back inside like this, and I'm going to stitch it on quarter of an inch. I'm going to leave like 2 inches opening so I can bring everything out. Quarter, leave opening like 2 inches, then I'll stitch the remaining. I'm done stitching. This is the opening. I'm going to bring it out. I'm going to take it to the ironing table iron, then I'm going to sew this opening. I'll stitch it down like this. Then I'm going to the back. All right, I'm going to place right side facing right side. Then on the hem, I'm going to stitch on half an inch, then I'll be back. I'm done stitching. All right, so right side still facing right side. I'm going to set it. It's going to push the lining up. Then I'm going to stitch on one side of the back by 1/4 of an inch. I'm done stitching by 1/4 inch. Before stitching the other side, I'll stitch the neckline, snip, then understitch. Afterward, I'll come to the other side and stitch on 1/4. I'm done stitching. The next thing now is to bring it out from the armhole. I'm going to take it to the ironing table and iron. Then afterward, I'm going to take the front. I'm going to place right side facing right side on the shoulders like this. All right, then I'm going to take the lining, turn it like this. All right, sandwiching the back. Then I'll stitch on 1/2 inch. I'm done stitching the shoulder, looking nice. Looking at the picture, the zipper is at the side. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stitch the seam on the seam allowance, maybe like 1 inch or 2, depends. Then I'll leave zipper opening. Then from there, I'll stitch the remaining down. And I'll fix my zip. Then this side also, I'll stitch the seam allowance. This is the inside after fixing the zipper and stitching the side, looking nice. So I'm going to turn it inside out, give it a good press, then wear it on my dress form for you to see. And here it is, looking nice. You can add your desired sleeve style. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to support me by subscribing, give it a thumbs up. You can also hit notification bell so as to get notified when I upload new videos. Till I come your way again, bye for now.